You're watching Storm Track 15's Tracking Francine.
A Storm Track 15 alert as we come on air this morning. Acadiana bracing as Hurricane Francine moves our way. Good morning. You're watching Good Day Acadiana on News 15. I'm Alex Furstel.
And I'm Scott Brassett. Thanks for being with us this morning. We're going to get right to it. Storm Track 15 meteorologist Adam Olivier. He is tracking Francine as it heads toward the Louisiana coast.
Yeah, Alex, Scott, we are seeing Hurricane Francine out there beginning to strengthen again. It went through a period where there wasn't much change through the overnight hours. Winds still at 90 miles an hour, but that pressure has dropped to 976, and it's picked up a little more forward speed, northeasterly at 12 miles an hour. Now, that is going to help bring this ashore later on today, but Francine had to deal with some wind shear and also some drier air earlier this morning. There you can see it's south of the Louisiana coastline, building some storms up right now. It has strengthened into a hurricane, happened yesterday around 7 p.m. Continued strengthening is expected today. Landfall is expected a little later on now this evening. So 4 to 7, maybe as late as 9 o'clock tonight, we could see landfall. It'll depend upon where along the Louisiana coastline it does come ashore. Now, there's been a couple of things today that we're watching here on satellite. First, overnight, it had an expansive cloud deck of these purple colorations. That all went away because just a few hours ago, Francine ingested some dry air and battled some wind shear. Now, all those storms have been cut off from the circulation and are moving their way into southeastern Louisiana and here into Acadiana. Now that Francine has belched out all of that drier air, it is starting to regain that strength and getting stronger. The purple colors have come back on satellite here, indicating those stronger thunderstorms, higher, colder cloud tops. So we're going to see likely Francine strengthen here in the hours ahead. On water vapor, a couple of other things I want to point out. That Francine is now firmly within that jet stream that's bringing it up to the north. That's why the speed has increased, the forward speed to 12 miles an hour. That's going to get this through pretty fast once it does come on land, and it's going to impart wind shear. Right now, Francine has built up a core of strong storms fighting off that wind shear. The drier air, you can kind of see it sinking down to the south off the Texas coast. That got sucked up into the circulation, but now has been expelled, and that's pushing these storms over towards New Orleans, that first batch, and now we're seeing that deepening area of thunderstorm activity right around the center of circulation. We are now within range of Acadiana here with the center of circulation. It's getting very close to the coast. As of the last update, which just came down at 7 o'clock, it did take more of this easterly bend. Question is that just a wobble, or is that something more of a trend that this will start to follow here through the rest of the day, coming ashore a little bit farther away from Acadiana? Hurricane Center has this track and will update it at 10 o'clock, but brings the storm, strengthening it to a Category 2 by this afternoon, right into St. Mary Parish. Sycamore Point to Cocodrie, Louisiana, best area right now for that landfall spot. Now, could this go even farther to the east? It is certainly possible. I don't think it'll likely get as far as Grand Isle. And what's likely to happen is once it finally gets pretty far east, it's going to turn to the north because of how the jet stream's setting up here. That's also going to allow it to weaken very fast. But critical moments here within the next, I'd say, 4 or 5 hours to determine that exact landfall spot, whether it's Terrebonne Parish or St. Mary Parish. One good thing is with this more easterly trajectory, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge, that is down from what we were expecting here in Vermilion Parish, and that's mainly because it just builds up this massive pile of water all around the storm. So you do get a water rise. But we're going to get northerly winds here in Vermilion Parish through much of the day. That's going to push away a lot of that storm surge. Vermilion River over into the Delcombe Canal, you're looking at maybe 4 feet at most. Sycamore Point, at most 6 feet of surge. Highest surge will be in St. Mary Parish, where you see these oranges and yellows. That's 6 to 9 feet, locally up to 10 feet. outside of the flood protection areas of Morgan City, Franklin, and Baldwin. Now on satellite and radar, you can kind of trace where the jet stream is taking these storms. Notice beeline for Terrebonne Parish and then eventually New Orleans. But then it also turns them up to the north. So we're going to watch. That is the eye right there showing up on radar. You can see clearly defined, and we were tracking that eastward bend. Will that continue? Well, we'll see in the hours ahead. We are getting that consistent rainfall with the rain shield developing out ahead of this system in St. Mary, Lower St. Martin, Iberia parishes, heavier across Vermilion Bay and into Vermilion Parish as well. A steady rainfall here in Lafayette, Youngsville, and St. Martinville, now extending into Crowley and Jennings. Light rain up to the north in Evangeline and St. Landry parishes. So there's that rain falling here at the hub city. We'll continue to track the latest on Francine as we get more updates throughout the day. For now, though, we do need to get a check on traffic from Steve Wiley at Delta Media.
I stepped outside and saw very little traffic. That's a good thing. Checked in with DOTD. Things on I-10 and I-49 are all clear. No accidents being reported at the moment. No local accidents either. As always, if you see a situation we should be aware of, call 706-0119. I'm Steve Wiley in the Delta Media Studios.
Hurricane Francine shifting a bit east overnight, but that doesn't mean parts of Lafayette and other parishes in Acadiana won't see some major impacts.
Al Abair has boots on the ground to show us how Lafayette Emergency Operations Center is preparing to respond.
Al, good morning.
Hey guys, I am with Christina Dayries. She's the interim director of OSEP, which is the Office of Homeland Security Emergency Preparedness.
That's correct.
And your chief of staff.
I am.
And I think she brought snacks, so she's very busy. Christina, hub of activity here. Kind of give us a thumbnail sketch of what's going on here.
What we're doing here today is we're just continuing. We're into a partial activation here at the EOC. This is where you have your central coordination of any type of an emergency, hurricane, tornadoes, severe flooding. You want to bring all of your key stakeholders. This is governmental agency, first responders. You bring in your nonprofit groups. You bring in some of your key business liaisons. You bring them here so that we are all speaking on the same terms, speaking the same language, coordinating together, and really finalizing those plans to any preparation that needs to be put in place, ready to go in response, and then we would immediately take on into recovery. So it just brings us all together so that we can really have firsthand knowledge of what everybody's doing across the parish.
So how many agencies are represented right now in here?
Every first responder is represented in here. They'll send different liaisons in here. Usually a lead for law enforcement, a lead for fire, but it will be every municipality. The mayors are in here for our daily briefing as well. So it's across the parish. This is your central hub. This is your headquarters for an emergency. So it can include all of them.
Now I find it interesting that you have nonprofits here. You have Catholic Charities. You have Second Harvest. That's really interesting that you brought them in. I think that's so cool that they're here. So you got everything covered. Look, this is really, really interesting. We're going to be here for the rest of the morning. Stick with us. We're going to go back to you guys in the studio.
Good deal, Al. Thank you for that. We'll see you in a bit with more.
You bet.
Well, the city of Morgan City announcing they will enforce a curfew, this due to the possible impacts of Hurricane Francine.
That curfew begins this morning at 11. It will go on until 6 tomorrow morning. Chief Chad Adams and the Morgan City Police Department asking all residents to just stay put, shelter in place during the curfew. That's because Morgan City could, as very often happens, see some significant impacts from the storm.
Well, the chief says they will give an update on possible changes or extensions following the 10 a.m. update from the National Weather Service. Essential services will run in the city until conditions are unsafe.
A curfew also going to affect for all of Iberia Parish because of the storm.
The Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office will be responsible for enforcing this curfew. It'll run from 11 a.m. this morning through 7 a.m. on Thursday. Now, the curfew applies to everyone in both city and rural areas, and the only exceptions include emergency personnel or people going to and from work.
In addition, Iberia Parish recommending voluntary evacuation for anyone who lives south of U.S. Highway 90 because the flooding threat, all coming from the storm surge.
Well, you can see that wet weather here in the hub city. Our clouds getting lower, the rain falling, Francine approaching. I'll give you the latest information on the storm coming up.
I'm Marcel Fontenot.
And I'm Jim Hummel.
We're bringing the stories that matter to you.
Watch live at 5 weeknights only on News 15.
I'm Dustin Poirier, UFC champ and proud Lafayette native. I've been around the world, but I love to come back home. But I don't love litter, and I'm asking you to do your part. Make sure that all of your trash ends up in its place, and if there isn't a can around, take it with you. It's not that hard. Step up and be a champ. Take it from me, Dustin Poirier. Be parish proud and knock out litter for good.
I'm Taylor Trichet. And I'm Lauren Eels. When it comes to local news, stay a step ahead.
Watch First at 4, weekdays right here on News 15.
I can't express how much I appreciate every single thing that St. Jude has done. You never know when you could be that determining factor to save the next child's life. 1,000,000 thank yous wouldn't be enough.
I'm Alex Horstel.
And I'm Scott Brasda.
Start your mornings on a brighter note.
Watch Good Day Acadiana weekdays right here on News 15.
No one should face breast cancer alone. I'm Janelle Hale, founder and CEO of the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Early detection saved my life. It could save yours too. Learn more at nbcf.org/hope.
You care for the house, the kids, and our future. My Shiro's Day is never done. So let's save a little more now so we can create the retirement we want. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro.
Watch First at 4, weekdays right here on News 15.
Watch Good Day Acadiana weekdays right here on News 15.
Get the most out of local forecasting. Scan the StormTrack 15 weather app QR and start receiving StormTrack 15's real-time weather alerts and notifications based on your exact location. Get local news that comes to you. Scan the News 15 app QR code and start receiving real-time breaking news alerts and notifications to keep you informed of the latest news happening in your community.
Did you guys make the switch? Yes. Oh yeah, we watching you guys all the time. We found a new home at News 15, and you came along with us.
And your trust means everything. We're grateful so many of you have made the switch.
And have made News 15 at 10 one of the highest rated newscasts in Acadiana.
And for that, we thank you for making us your local news authority.
Always tracking, always alerting. Here's your StormTrack 15 weather.
And we continue to track Francine out there, a hurricane with winds of 90 miles an hour, pressure at 976, and moving northeast at 12 miles an hour. It has picked up some forward speed, and that's indicating the jet stream coming in, pulling this storm a little bit faster, closer to the Louisiana coastline. Now, that still likely won't keep this from reaching us until the evening hours, so we have a long way to go. But you can see there a Category 1 hurricane just off the Louisiana coastline, and indications are this is really beginning to strengthen a little bit this morning. Hurricane hunters are in Francine right now, flying about, and they're finding those lower pressures. One other way, we don't even need the hurricane hunters really to tell us that this is starting to strengthen. You see these purple colors indicating those taller, colder, stronger storms near the center of circulation. They're becoming more expansive. The more purple you see on this map, the stronger this storm is getting. Now, there's been a couple of things that happened through the overnight hours and just a few hours ago. Overnight, formed into a hurricane, strengthened to a high-end Category 1, but then around 4 o'clock this morning, it started ingesting some drier air, and that's separated the center of the storm, which you can see here, from this blob that is now moving into southeastern Louisiana. And what that is the storm took in the drier air, and it's pushing it out. That kind of cut off this whole section, and that's going to continue to drift off to the north and east. The center is now trying to build back up, and it's built a strong core. So there's been a little wind shear too. That wind shear not having as much of an impact on this system because of that strong core that it has. Now, we've seen a lot of wobbles with it the past couple of hours and even the past few days. And when you're out in the Atlantic, wobbles don't matter. But when you're this close to land, only a few hundred miles offshore, every little deviation is important. Because if you get one little wobble, that's nothing. Because it might come back to the path and, everything stays on course. But if you start seeing that wobble turn into a trend, then you can say, uh-oh, this isn't going where the Hurricane Center or the models or whatever forecasting it to go. It's going in a completely different direction. And so the latest update from Recon shows that there has been more of an easterly bend recently with this storm. So we'll watch that. At the next update, 10 a.m., does that eastward trend continue, or does it come back in line with the Hurricane Center? If it comes back in line with the Hurricane Center, we're looking at a landfall somewhere around St. Mary Parish between Franklin and Morgan City. If it does tend to go more to the east, now we're looking at a landfall site between Morgan City and Cocodrie, Dulac, maybe as far east as Grand Isle. That would be on the extreme case. I don't think it gets that far east. But somewhere here into Terrebonne Parish would be more likely. So that is a key thing that we'll watch at the 10 o'clock update. But the Hurricane Center does have this going towards the north and east and strengthening to a Category 2 by 1 p.m. You can see sitting right offshore. We're expecting that Category 2 intensity. It does come on shore here somewhere in St. Mary or Terrebonne Parish. And then key is, does it bend back to the north or does it carry on more to the east? There are some models that show this coming to New Orleans and then carrying on eastward into Mississippi. I discount that a little bit just because we are seeing that jet stream kind of bending back here. But, this gets far enough east, it doesn't matter if it bends over the city of New Orleans. We're not going to see many impacts here. Although rain is one of those impacts, this model is one of those that shows that eastward track. So let's time this out. Next few hours, that rain shield sets up shop here. And we're going to get some of those outer bands working their way on up towards the Lafayette area. Midday, this will be the key time frame. We're now past that 10 a.m. advisory. Where is that center? This model takes the system and heads it off towards Terrebonne Parish. Notice the rain stops for us here in Acadiana. The strongest of those storms down towards Morgan City, Terrebonne Parish, New Orleans, river parishes. That's where, according to this model, the worst of it goes. And there you can see the center coming up towards Lafourche Parish. This model eventually does continue to take it off towards the east into Mississippi. And like I said, I think that's a little bit on the extreme end. I do think this would bend to the north at some point in time. But there's other models, the global models, that are pretty centered here on Morgan City. So we have a battle. It's not that much of a difference. Morgan City towards Cocodrie is only about 30 to 40 miles here, where we see a separation of potential landfall sites. Grand scheme of things, not a big difference. Impact-wise for us here in Acadiana, big difference. We are going to see a lot of rainfall here, that eye coming into view of radar. You can almost kind of trace out the upper level jet stream just by how the rain is moving towards the Louisiana coastline here, going in that northeasterly flow. But then you can see everything start to lift northward here, and that's why I think at some point this is going to have to turn to the north. But for now, it is going to carry on that northeasterly trajectory. It's set up right now, basically the border of St. Mary and Terrebonne Parish. We'll see how that all plays out. But on radar, clearly you can see that circulation. There is the eye back here. There's been some wobbles, but does this continue on? Like I said, right now, it's kind of on that track for the parish line there, maybe a little south of Morgan City over towards Amelia. We'll have to see as we go in. There's also a lot of lightning building in with this storm too. We can also see that there's steady rains falling across Acadiana, south of I-10 primarily, heaviest right along the 90 corridor between Morgan City and Franklin up to New Iberia, and then cutting across on LA 14 points southward. That is where you see that steady outer rain band building on in. Lafayette, some light to moderate rain right now. Same for you in Cankton and Crawley, Jennings, Rain, Dussault. just a few showers here into St. Landry and Evangeline parishes. Nothing too concerning there. From our Queen City of the Teche camera in New Iberia, you can see how wet the roads are. Gray skies out there right now. Check of those winds. Everything out of the east currently around 10 miles an hour. Some gusts even higher than that. And I just want to show you quickly, I have updated that the highest wind gusts, those bursts of winds, now down to the south where we would see that 100 mile per hour wind gust around 60 here for Lafayette. But we'll keep you updated going forward.
Looks like people are doing the wise thing and staying off the roads this morning. We have no accidents to report on local roadways, and everything is clear on I-10 and I-49 as well. If you see a situation we need to be aware of, call us 706-0119. I'm Steve Wiley in the Delta Media Studio.
Bringing you the local stories that matter. It's what sets us apart as the state's best large market newscast. Honored by the Louisiana Association of Broadcasters, setting the standard in Acadiana. We are News 15, your local news authority.
It's a new era at News 15.
We are the most experienced news team in Acadiana.
We are the people you know and trust.
With more live local newscasts than any other station.
From hard-hitting investigative journalism
To the people who are the heartbeat of our community.
Acadiana, our focus is you.
We are News 15, your local news authority.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. The one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Watch Live at 5 weeknights right here on News 15.
Watch News 15 at noon weekdays on KLAF NBC.
For centuries, there have been questions that continue to go unanswered. But now, one of life's greatest questions will finally be answered. Where in Acadiana is Al Abear?
Watch First at 4 weekdays right here on News 15.
Watch Good Day Acadiana weekday mornings right here on News 15.
Watch Live at 5 weeknights right here on News 15.
Until you came, I was an outcast.
Mercy ships arrived to provide free surgery and care.
Because you didn't give up on me, I can go to school.
To learn more, go to mercyships.org.
All right, well, if you're just tuning in here this morning, we continue our coverage on all things tracking Francine.
Yeah, here we go. Let's do it. As we continue our coverage, another part of Vermilion Parish that's bracing for a significant storm surge, you got Pecan Island. Many in that tiny community say they evacuated well ahead of this hurricane, which comes 19 years to the month after Hurricane Rita struck. We all remember Rita. As Storm Track 15 meteorologist Michael Crowley shows us, Pecan Island has never fully recovered.
We're taking a trip south in Vermilion Parish to Pecan Island, a modern-day ghost town. Pecan Island used to have plenty of residents, including a school, but it now lies abandoned, closed since Hurricane Rita in 2005.
They held the school open as long as they could over the years because it was depleting slowly. I guess families were moving away, and when they got to a minimum number of children in school, they just couldn't keep the school open.
Jeffrey Aber owns the only gun store in the small hurricane-battered coastal town, about 10 miles from the Gulf of Mexico. He says while frequent customers are hard to come by, hunting season brings him his business.
Whenever the hunting season opens, it's waterfowl season mostly. Whenever it opens, the population of the island really shoots up because everybody's coming.
But there's a reason there are so few people here today. Hurricane Audrey in 1957 ripped off nearly every roof in Pecan Island, producing storm surge near 6 feet and winds near 100 miles per hour. And more recently, Hurricane Rita in 2005 destroyed nearly every building in town with a 10-foot storm surge, Over 1,000 people were stranded in the floodwaters, and the high water is something Jeffrey Hebert remembers well from 2005.
Yeah, you'll see this is drift from the marsh, from the tidal surge that passed
So it went
over
over
the
top.
Over the top. Oh yeah, this is 10 feet off the ground, the top of my shop.
Not everyone wants to live in a town so susceptible to tropical weather, so the population of Pecan Island continues to steadily decrease. With a very active hurricane season on the way, Hebert and other residents on the island always have a plan in place in case of disaster. His advice? Have a plan to evacuate and always have a place to stay well ahead of time.
Well, in St. Martin Parish, sandbags being made available at 7 locations across the parish. Now, most of the locations are in parks in Brobridge and in St. Martinville, but you can find the full list on our website, KADN.com. However, you are asked to bring a shovel and bag your own. The limit is 25 bags per vehicle.
Meanwhile, in Iberia Parish, sandbags also available there. You can bag your own at 8 different locations. That includes fire stations and other public venues. As with the others, shovels are not available. Make sure you bring them. And you can also find a full list of locations on our website at KADN.com.
I'm Taylor Trichet. Get your midday news and weather on News 15 at noon, weekdays right here on KLAF NBC.
I'm Marcel Fontenot.
And I'm Jim Hummel.
We're bringing the stories that matter to you.
Watch live at 5 weeknights only on News 15.
I'm Dustin Poirier, UFC champ and proud Lafayette native. I've been around the world, but I love to come back home. But I don't love litter, and I'm asking you to do your part. Make sure that all of your trash ends up in its place, and if there isn't a can around, take it with you. It's not that hard. Step up and be a champ. Take it from me, Dustin Poirier. Be parish proud and knock out litter for good.
I'm Taylor Trichet, and I'm Lauren Ailes. When it comes to local news, stay a step ahead. Watch First at 4, weekdays right here on News 15.
I can't express how much I appreciate every single thing that St. Jude has done. You never know when you could be that determining factor to save the next child's life. 1,000,000 thank yous wouldn't be enough.
I'm Alex Worstel.
And I'm Scott Brasda.
Start your mornings on a brighter note.
Watch Good Day Acadiana weekdays right here on News 15.
No one should face breast cancer alone. I'm Janelle Hale, founder and CEO of the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Early detection saved my life. It could save yours too. Learn more at nbcf.org/hope.
You care for the house, the kids, and our future. My Shiro's day is never done. So let's save a little more now so we can create the retirement we want. A free 3-minute online chat can give us the personalized tips we need. Visit asiaretirement.org/Shiro.
Watch First at 4, weekdays right here on News 15.
You're watching Storm Track 15's Tracking Francine.
And welcome. It's 7:28. This is Good Day Acadiana. We continue to track Francine. I'm Scott Brasda.
Good morning. I'm Alex Worstel. Thanks for starting your morning with us.
All right, let's move you along here and get right to it because we have a meteorologist on staff and he is busy.
Storm Track 15 meteorologist Adam Olivier standing by this morning. Adam, what are you tracking?
Well, we are tracking a hurricane, Alex and Scott, in the Gulf of Mexico. Hurricane Francine, just off the Louisiana coastline here. The latest that we have is from 7 a.m., so just about 30 minutes ago, that we got this updated information. Hurricane hunters have found that strengthening is probably starting to occur here with Francine. Pressure down to 976, winds around 90 miles an hour. That movement has picked up a little bit northeast at 12 miles an hour. And we want to see that movement continue to pick up because that will ensure that this is going to get in and get out really fast. But Francine is still back to the west here. You can see those storms around the center of circulation, but another cluster of them have moved up to the Louisiana coastline already. Now, overnight, Francine strengthened into a hurricane. It has continued or expected to continue strengthening here through the next few hours. Landfall has shifted slightly. Yesterday, we were kind of looking between 1 and 4 p.m. for landfall. Today, it's more 4 to 7. So that's the biggest change there in relation to impacts here in Acadiana, that landfall timing is slightly different. Now, on satellite, there is a little bit of a difference in structure with Francine. You can see there is that big blob that formed up over this morning. That was actually over the center of Francine during the nighttime hours, and that was the indication that Francine was really getting its act together, built up a strong core of centralized thunderstorms. But then around 4 o'clock this morning, some wind shear and dry air got pulled into the circulation, and that has since separated this first big blob from Francine. Now that's bringing showers and storms already to us and also southeastern Louisiana. But now you're seeing these deep purple colors. And when you see that on satellite, that indicates taller, stronger, colder cloud tops. Stronger storms around the center of Francine, indicating strengthening is likely taking place. And recon flying in there, they have multiple planes. They're all finding lowering pressures now. So we do believe that Francine will be on this strengthening train here going forward. You can see that we do have that drier air back into Texas. And yesterday, when Francine was sitting just off the Mexican coast, it pulled in a lot of that drier air. That's what kept it from really getting going yesterday, which is a great thing because we could be dealing with a much stronger system at this point in time. But today, it's battling the wind shear pretty well. You can see that flow up towards Atlanta, from Lafayette to Atlanta. That is the jet stream that is pulling this towards the Louisiana coastline. But then if you go back to Texas, you see these brown and gold colors. They're drifting to the south here. That is the drier air that is getting sucked into Francine. Now, right now, it is battling that pretty well, and that's why we are seeing it strengthen. If the dry air does get kind of sucked up more into the storm, maybe it weakens a little bit. That is expected to happen here fairly soon once it makes landfall. However, the next few hours critical for determining where Francine will make landfall. We are expecting it to strengthen to a Category 2 hurricane as it approaches the Louisiana coastline. That should happen by later on today. Now, the key that we're going to be watching, and you can kind of see it here, this white line bends back to the right. What that tells us, there was an eastward jog found by recon earlier this morning. Now, is that just a jog, a little wobble in the track, and then it comes back online with the hurricane center? Or is that more in line of a trend that this turns and heads more on the eastern side of this track? That is still a possibility, and we could see landfall all the way over to Lafourche Parish here. So, Terrebonne, Lafourche Parish, that is possible for a landfall site. But it is also possible that this comes a little bit farther to the west. Now, I don't think this is going to go any farther west than about the parish line between Iberia and St. Mary Parish. That is pretty much the limit the center could take. But let's say it comes to Franklin. Well, now you're putting Lafayette Parish back into more significant storms, more significant rains and wind. You're putting the center of the storm in St. Mary Parish. So that's why we're watching this. Impacts increase if you head to the west. Impacts decrease if Francine heads to the east. I can show you that with storm surge. Vermilion Parish, yesterday we were talking about the potential for you 3 to 6 to even up to 9 feet of storm surge in spots. No longer. Northerly winds are expected to blow a lot of this water out and keep things only to about a 1 to 3 foot storm rise, tidal rise there. Now, that's because the storm builds up a lot of water out ahead of it. So that's just because the storm is approaching the coast. But as soon as those northerly winds kick in, you're getting an offshore flow, no surge threat from there on. In the Vermilion River, we could see up to 4 feet of surge, at least through Abbeville, but I'm not expecting much more than that. In fact, it may even go lower than that. Delcombe Canal, up to 4 feet. Sippermore Point, looking at maybe 6 feet. 3 to 6 feet, kind of that range there. But where we're seeing the higher surge values are south of Highway 90 through St. Mary Parish, where we could get up to 10 feet of surge. Key factor, if this goes east of Morgan City, You too will have that northerly wind flow, so you may have a buildup as the storm approaches, but then the surge heads out back into the Gulf because we get that northerly wind in place. So here it is on radar and satellite, and you can clearly see that donut hole there. That is the eye being picked up by radar. We're watching these storms that are being blown off to the north, and notice how they're coming in towards Terrebonne Parish. We're not really seeing them come up into Acadiana. That tells you that the jet stream is taking this towards that Terrebonne Parish area. But then there is going to be a northerly wind turn in the upper levels that's going to pull this up into Mississippi. Now, if that happens a little sooner, maybe we do get this towards Morgan City. But I really do think, we're not going to see anything much farther to the north than Morgan City for a landfall location. This thing is headed, due towards the northeast here into Terrebonne Parish, and then eventually could even get all the way to New Orleans. If that happens, we won't see much in the way of impacts. Clearly, though, you can see that eye on radar. And right here, we're going to be watching to see if there's any wobbles with that eye. Does it go a little more to the east and then stay on that eastward track? Does it come up a little bit more to the north and head up towards St. Mary Parish? That's going to be what we watch here in the hours ahead. By the 10 a.m. advisory, we will have a better understanding of if this eastward trend or eastward jog is a trend or just a wobble. We do have those heavier rain bands pushing their way onshore now into St. Mary Parish. Steady, heavy rain falling right now through Morgan City, Franklin, also up to New Iberia, that steadier rainfall currently. You go along Highway 14 through Abbeville, Kaplan, Gadon, anywhere south of there, that's where we have the first banding features. You see these? These are the rain bands. They're going to contain some gustier winds, 20 to 30 miles an hour. Up here in Lafayette, we're just getting some light to moderate rain at times. Same for you in St. Martinville and Youngsville, out towards Ridge, Dussault, Crowley, just some sprinkles, nothing too heavy, maybe enough to wet the ground. Opelousas, Ville Platte, same deal for you. Here in the hub city, we are looking at those gray skies. We do have some raindrops on the lens, and you can see the wet roadways. But notice our camera really isn't shaking that much. So that's good. We're not seeing too much in the way of those stronger winds right now. But around 10 miles an hour sustained across the area, picking up a little bit in Lake Charles. And we are going to be monitoring these winds getting a little bit stronger in these bands as the circulation passes to our east. We're looking up to 60 miles an hour for most of Acadiana, but then you get down to the coast, and that's where we could see up to 80 here through Franklin, and maybe 100-mile-an-hour wind gust around Morgan City. So we are going to continue to watch that here as we head through the rest of the day. The farther west you go, the lower your impact will be. Now, Acadiana may see lower impacts, but we're not going to see no impacts. So we are going to keep a watch on that for you. Just hunker down for the day, watch the rain outside, keep us on here with News 15, and we'll be updating you here as we get more information here going into the next few hours.
Okay. Adam, super important that we continue to check in as you continue to track. We'll see you in a bit.
Thank you, Adam, very much. Well, Lafayette may not be in the direct path of Hurricane Francine, at least right now, but that doesn't mean we won't see any impacts. The entire city most definitely on alert.
Al Abair is at the command center this morning with Lafayette Utilities, and he joins us with the Lafayette Mayor, Miss Monique Blanco-Boulay. We're going to send it to him.
Indeed. So excited to have the Mayor President with us. Thanks for taking time to talk to us.
Sure.
Really appreciate it. This is really quite an operation. It's very impressive. I've never been here before. I got to tell you, you've got a well-oiled machine in here. Let's talk about how this impacts the community, your neighbors, things like that.
Yeah, so, what we have going on here this morning is probably a light crew, as, opposed to what it was 36 hours ago. We had 80 to 100 people in here from all of the different agencies, the first responders, the nonprofits, all the way to medical responders, here really coordinating efforts and really working through and talking through any kinks that we might have should we have gotten the worst of this storm. As we all know, on Monday we were in a very different position than we are today. Gratefully, thankfully, that storm is not going to hit us directly, but had it hit us, we would have been well prepared. And it's really we have great first responders throughout this community. All of our LPD, the Sheriff's Office, the KADN, all of the people who really are the front line when an emergency happens. What we do here is coordinate them all together. Make sure the right people know you have the right contact information should we hit a snag along the way. And that's really the biggest benefit of coming together in an emergency operations format the way we have for this storm.
You know, my first career was law enforcement back, it was a long time ago. We did not have this. Yeah. And I think it's just such a blessing to be able to have all these people under one roof.
Yeah.
And to be able to communicate with them, because sometimes you don't have communication. Right. Cell phones go out, things like that.
Right. Well, in a storm, all kind of things happen. Right. And I really do want to credit. Christina was on the news a few minutes ago. Christina comes from GOSAP, and she really drove home the point that we needed representatives from everybody under one roof. We needed to be talking throughout the entire situation, and I think we all understand it better now that we've been through it. But I do want to thank her. She brings 20 years of expertise of dealing with disasters and storms and everything else at the state level. So being able to really embed that here in Lafayette. And look, we have been working with the council to set up an emergency preparedness office, and we haven't set that up yet. So we have a lot of lessons learned, a lot of things we could do better through this process, and really understanding what that kind of staff would do for Lafayette Parish. What are the gaps we need to fill in? What are the skill sets we need? There's a lot that we will take from this experience and learn and do it even better next time.
Now I'm looking at this, and this is so well organized. They even have snacks. I love the snacks.
I would like healthy snacks.
How long does it take, or did it take, for your team to coordinate this? This had to have been planned for a long time.
Right. So when Christina came in January into my office, she very quickly identified we needed to start organizing emergency preparedness. And I will tell you honestly, putting the contact list together, having all of the different agencies, just making the connections and putting that she has been working on understanding our gaps. So we knew our weaknesses coming in because of the work she's been doing. And we are in the process. We were actually supposed to be interviewing directors for emergency preparedness this week.
Oh, wow.
We had to reschedule some of those interviews.
Wow, yes.
But, so I cannot emphasize my gratitude to the work she's been doing for the last 6 months. Understanding we can have an emergency at any time. I mean, and we could get through this and something else could happen. I mean, we've been through actually in September 11th. We've had quite a few issues since January. That we have really been able to, handle, I think, with being prepared. Let me say that. I was going to say with grace. But.
Well, as we wrap up, what do you want folks out there watching to know?
Yes, so we still have the potential for tropical storm winds, I think, in the southern part of the parish. So everybody needs to stay alert, stay out of the impact areas, and we'll get to the other side of this, and, we'll go out, pick up our branches. Hopefully we have electricity and we go back to work and school tomorrow. That's really the best thing that could happen.
Thank you so much. I got to tell you, this is very smooth over here. I tell you, very, very, you should be confident. This is very smooth. Hey, you know what? We're going to go back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Great information there. Thank you both. We'll see you in a bit out. Well, we're closely monitoring Vermilion Parish as well this morning, where storm surge continues to be a serious threat, particularly south of Highway 14.
News 15's Jeff Horchak is live in Abbeville, where that community bracing for some potential flooding. Yes. Jeff, good morning.
Hi there. Good morning, Alex, Scott, and Adam. It's good to talk with you guys this morning. Pretty mild conditions currently here in Vermilion Parish. We're actually in Abbeville outside of our hotel room we stayed last night. And as you can see, I'll get Liliana to pan to the parking lot. You can see the puddle there. Slight rain, but very, very slow and mild rain. If you look at the trees that are along the parking lot behind us, they're blowing a little bit. Slight breeze, but nothing extreme. These are the similar conditions that we experienced yesterday when we were over here last night. We went down to the Vermilion River, and the river was pretty high. We'll continue to check that today. They're worried about the surge if they get a lot of rain in this area, and also the bay, people that live along the bay and the river. But so far, pretty mild conditions. Now, we're still hours away from Francine making landfall in the state, and we'll see where it goes. Hopefully it continues to trend east. That's good for people who live here in Vermilion Parish and most of Acadiana. We'll check back in a little bit later and talk about the conditions and if they've changed any in the parish. Live in Abbeville this morning, I'm Jeff Horchak for News 15. Back to you guys.
All right, Jeff, good deal. Thank you for the update. We'll circle back in a bit.
Okay, now let's go to Morgan City. News 15's Dracar Francois joining us. He's got the very latest.
Let's send it to him. Dracar, good morning.
Dracar, good morning, sir.
Hey, Scott, good morning. So right now, me and a videographer, Alex Folks, we're here in Morgan City. And we're, as you guys can see right here in the sky, I mean, it's not really raining too hard, but the rain is coming down. And the storm is supposed to hit later this afternoon. But as of now, the city and also the police department here in Morgan City has set a citywide curfew at 11 a.m. So as you guys can see right here behind me, I mean, there's still stores open and there's still people getting last minute things as far as gas and also some snacks to last them through the storm. But, you know, as I just said, you know, the city and also the police department is setting a curfew at 11 a.m. So if you're in Morgan City and you still need some extra things, there's still stores open, so you can come in and get last minute things. But right now, I send it back over to the desk to Scott and Alex.
All right, Dracar, thank you so much for that. We will frequently be checking in with you this morning.
So right now our teams in Abbeville and also Morgan City kind of on standby, but things could quickly shift.
Absolutely. Okay, well, with that, we know Hurricane Francine, it continues to grow in the warm waters of the Gulf, rushing toward us. You just saw here in Louisiana, New Orleans is a potential target for landfall at some point today.
Yeah, Jay Gray has been tracking the storm. He joins us from New Orleans with the very latest on conditions and final preps.
Coastal communities in Texas filling with water. Francine dumping heavy rain as it moves just off the shoreline, taking aim at South Louisiana.
It's crucial that all of us take this storm very seriously and begin our preparations immediately.
Hundreds of thousands in the strike zone, lining up for gas, stocking up on food and water.
Just so we can make sure that we have things to eat in case the electricity goes out where we can't cook.
Others packing and piling sandbags, preparing for what could be a foot of rain or more.
Take nothing like this lightly. You have to be prepared for everything that's going to happen.
Floodgates across the region locked in place. The extremely hot waters of the Gulf like rocket fuel for the storm. Forecasters warning it will continue to intensify as it rushes toward the coast. Right now, New Orleans, a potential target for landfall.
Now, again, is the time to finalize your storm plans and to prepare, not only for your families, also looking out for your neighbors.
That time, though, quickly running out. Francine, now, just hours away.
All right, we've got some other things here as we get this going. Evacuation orders in place, of course, shelters in New Orleans, and Jeff Landry with a state of emergency in the state of Louisiana. And the President Biden has issued a declaration to assist.
Okay, and with that, let's talk about, as you're waking up this morning here, Morgan City enforcing a curfew due to Hurricane Francine.
Curfew will begin this morning, 11 a.m. It'll go until 6 tomorrow. Chief Chad Adams and the Morgan City Police Department asking all residents shelter in place during the curfew because Morgan City could see some significant impact.
Well, the chief will update any changes or extensions after the 10 a.m. National Weather Service update. Essential services in Morgan City will continue until they are deemed unsafe.
Curfew also going into effect this morning in the entire Iberia Parish. Iberia Parish Sheriff's Office will be responsible for enforcing the curfew.
It'll run from 11 this morning through 7 a.m. on Thursday. Now, the curfew applies to everyone in both city and rural areas. The only exceptions include emergency personnel or people going to and from work.
In addition, Iberia Parish also recommending voluntary evacuations for anyone who lives south of U.S. Highway 90. Again, flooding threat, possible storm surge. Now we want to update you on the latest involving Hurricane Francine and the school closures across Acadiana. An extensive list closed tomorrow. Acadia, Evangeline, Jeff Davis, St. Landry, St. Martin Parish schools closed both tomorrow and Thursday are LPSS and Iberia, St. Mary, and Vermilion Parish schools.
Okay, well, let's talk about power because Francine may pack a punch when it comes to the electrical grid, so utility companies are getting ready to respond.
Yeah, here's a look at Slemco's staging area right off of Highway 90 in the event of power outages. They've got backup transformers, utility poles, miles and miles of power lines ready to go just in case.
While it's always important for everyone to have a plan, people with medical needs should stay extra prepared.
Make sure that they plan and prepare for their medical needs. If they're on oxygen or a CPAP machine or anything that requires electricity, they need to plan for several days without power just in case. We certainly hope it's not going to be that way, but they need to plan anyway and take care of themselves. I would suggest that they check with their physician to see, what they need to do.
Utility says it is ready to restore power as quickly as possible, of course, once it's safe to send people out there and do so.
Well, many of us turn to using generators in the event of a power outage, but while generators can provide comfort during a power loss, they can also be deadly if not used properly. Experts recommend placing a generator at least 20 feet from your home as well as your neighbor's home. Make sure you have a proper extension cord and, of course, a carbon monoxide detector. They also warn to avoid this common mistake among first-time users.
They need to have enough fuel. They need to understand that generally generators use about 1.5 gallons of gas an hour. So understanding how long you're going to be using them, how available gas is going to be down the road, and exactly what they're looking to plug into it. As the more you plug into it, the more fuel it's going to use.
Well, carbon monoxide poisoning can happen if you use a generator incorrectly. Carbon monoxide is odorless and it's very dangerous. It can cause multiple symptoms like dizziness, blurred vision, or even confusion. However, if you're asleep, you might not feel any of these symptoms.
Voluntary evacuations have been underway in St. Mary Parish ahead of Hurricane Francine.
That is right. We know this to be true. Our News 15's Dracar Francois. He joins us live from Morgan City this morning. Dracar, how is it out there?
Well, Alex, right now, rain is coming down, but it isn't hard right now. Now, Francine will make an appearance here in St. Mary Parish and right here where we're standing in Morgan City. And that will be kind of later on this evening. But starting at 11 o'clock this morning, there will be a mandatory curfew issued by the police and also the mayor's office here in Morgan City. And that will last until 6 in the morning on tomorrow. But as of now, you got like around, like 2 more hours to come out, get some last minute things. As you can see right here behind me, there's still people getting gas, still people getting certain amenities that they need during the storm. And things, you know, as you can see right here, things are still going on. Stores are still open. So if that's something that you want to do coming out here in the storm, going to certain stores and getting different things that you need, it's something you need to do right now. You got about 2 more hours because the curfew will start at 11 o'clock and it will end tomorrow at around 6 a.m. when the storms kind of calm down here in Morgan City. But I'll send it back over to the desk to Scott and Alex.
Okay, Dre Carr will continue to check in here throughout the morning, but like you said, last-minute preps underway.
There we go. All right, thank you, Dre Carr.
Governor Jeff Landry on Tuesday imploring Louisianians to prepare in time because there is just a little bit of time before this storm officially comes ashore.
Yeah, that window to get out there is starting to close. Right now, let's give a listen to the remarks from the governor and the state leaders a short time ago.